Hello everybody, it's Friday night and it is Weekender time once more. We're back from UKGE and we've a lot of catching up to do. There's a jam-packed show ahead of you, but before we get into that, we will have a guest later on. Charlie from Wargames Atlantic is popping by to have a quick chat with us about GameFound, the current campaign, and how you do a GameFound, because it's slightly different from other crowdfunding platforms. Let's put it like that. He's actually throwing a little prize into the ring if you are a backer of The Damned on GameFound. If you comment, "I'm a damned backer," below, they will be adding a $5 pledge on top of your current pledge. So if you want to be in with a chance to win that, it's "I am a damned backer." Needs to be in the comments below, and you need to be a damned backer. Simples. All right, sit back, relax, because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekender. I'm joined by Justin, John, and Ben.
I thought you'd forgotten our names then for a second, Jerry.
No, I'm just going to say the non-infected versions of us. I think the ones who are not appearing on screen right now
are dead.
The con with the lurgy, and we had to burn the bodies lest we get infected.
Yeah.
We had to put them down.
It's all right. We have a Kickstarter coming soon to put Warren's ashes into bottle rockets to send out to everybody so they can shoot him at the moon. Best headstone.
It's one way of doing it, certainly. I want to say James Doohan did that. Wasn't he fired into space?
I don't know.
Was. Yeah,
someone was.
I know Gene definitely was, but yeah. Anyway.
Didn't Tesla fire a car into space and just let it go?
That's just because he's an asshole.
Okay.
He's an asshole.
Okay.
Right there. That's the answer to that one.
Gary's opinion set in stone.
He's starting interplanetary pollution early.
Yes.
I mean, I suppose he thinks we've left enough junk up there already. What's one more bit?
Right. Apart from that, before we get into the show proper, there's one very quick little thing that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Very important date, June 24th. Obviously, everybody knows that is the most important thing this year. And that is because it is Free RPG Day.
Yay!
Nothing else is happening on that day.
Nothing I care about.
Nothing, no.
So, if you are unaware of Free RPG Day, it's been running for years now. I believe it's Asmodee started it, and they get together with a whole bunch of various companies, publishers, designers, all sorts. And then to encourage people to get involved in role-playing games and get down to their local hobby store, they do RPG Day, where you can go down, play some games, play games you haven't played before, meet some new people. If you're interested in giving role-playing games a try and you've got somebody local running it, it's great. We've got a big bucket load of stuff from the RPG Day kit that we'll be throwing at people for free when they come through the door on the 24th. So there's things like Loke have done a mini adventure, a map booklet. Free League have sent out the quick start guide to the new fantasy Dragonbond. So we've got a load of those to give away. There's a World of Darkness vampire game. There's dice. There's card games. There's all sorts of stuff. It's a big bucket load of stuff from, as you can see, a whole host of companies.
Yes.
So you'll find these are being run all around the world. Last year it was split, North America, and then the rest of the world were a month later. This year, everybody's kicking off on June 24th. So if you go to freerpgday.com, you can go in and look up a retailer near you to see if they're running it. And if they're not, if they don't have the kit, which I think is probably sold out because generally they go very quickly, you could still run games. It's a good way of just sort of growing the community and getting people involved as well. So I know last year we had a bunch of kids came down to OnTableTop who were interested in role-playing games but never tried before, and they played a couple of games throughout the day. So give it a go. See it. You might like it.
And we're doing the same thing again this year. We're running some games and stuff.
Very much are, yeah. I'm going to be rocking out Westfalia. I have no idea what some of the other guys are doing. There's a few people who are threatening to run various games, so I'll find out off the GMs fairly shortly, because I think I'll probably have to list that. But the plan is 3 sessions, so starting at 10:30 in the morning, and then one round lunchtime, well, mid-afternoon, and then the other one early evening. So full day of gaming, as many tables we can take over, depending on how many people show up. So we've enough GMs kicking around that we could do multiple games at every session throughout the day, and it just comes down to how many people come along to give it a go.
Sorry, Jerry, I'll make a sign just put on for the table saying "Wargamers go away."
Oh, you won't need a sign. I'll be there. I'll just tell them it's fine. It's grand. So you've got like 2-foot boards out in the shop out front, so that people want to play games, they can play on that.
Yeah, anyway. Maybe be able to finish a game of the new 40K.
Probably. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, so yes, 24th of June. Check it out. No matter where you are in the world, people are running games all over creation. So it's always good fun, and it's interesting and great to pick up some bits and pieces as well. So, that's just that.
I want you to save me a copy of Dragonbond.
Do you want the quick start guides? You're lucky because some of the bundles are like really thick, where we've got maybe 12 or so copies or 15 copies, and then other ones are like you've got 2 of these. There were 2 Achtung Cthulhu scenarios, and up there behind those boxes is the complete set of Achtung Cthulhu. So it's like, I'm taking that. Don't care who else is coming. And then I went home without it, so it's still sitting up there. But I'll make sure I get it before we divvy out the goods to anybody else who's showing up.
I'll put them aside so they don't get snaffled.
Oh, don't worry. I don't even know if anybody knows where I've hidden the box.
He's doing it that way.
Yeah, well, have to get it out of the room for the next fortnight so it doesn't get tripped over. Right, enough of that. We have to kick off the show proper with the most important part of the show, which is, of course, the Indie of the Week. And this week, it's an interesting little Spanish Civil War one from a company that is so exquisitely new, shockingly new, that they only set up a form of website and store within the past month or so.
Wow.
I have to ask, which Spanish Civil War is it? Because they are kind of want to do the boogaloo.
Is the Spanish
the big one?
If you Google Spanish Civil War, you will find this.
The prequel to World War II.
Very much so. This is we've got weapons and arms and munition, and we want to see how they work. So the Spanish Civil War, nationalists against Republicans, nationalists backed up obviously by fascist states of Italy and Germany, and the Republicans backed up by a whole host of people, including the international battalions as well. So with the Wild Geese were over there, loads of people kicking around from Ireland and all sorts. People who weren't allowed to get involved for various reasons all went and got involved for various reasons.
Here's the thing. We are Irish. Pay us money, give us beer, we will fight.
Oh, there's no payment. These are volunteer brigades.
Voluntarily fighting.
So, yeah.
Okay, just they were maybe having a bad day.
No, it's one of these things. It was class struggle, political struggle, religious struggle, all of this and so much more. So it sort of came down the divide. Ebro, which I believe is an actual place, has started this website. In fact, actually, the About Us is probably a nice place to start. Now, this is going to be Googly translated because I think the site only exists via the medium of Spanish.
Right, yeah.
But assuming it converts, yay! It's really interesting. So Jordy was interested in the Spanish Civil War and did various bits and bobs, and noticed that the wargaming community, especially in Spain itself, people know an awful lot about World War II, maybe bits about World War I, but then the kids who are getting into historics and don't really know a huge amount about what happened in their own country, about the wars that were fought, and obviously Spain wasn't involved in World War II. They were settling after this. They're one of those nations that had enough on their plate after 3 or 4 years of warfare, followed by what happened with Franco afterwards. So the idea was to encourage the people who are getting into wargaming to explore what was essentially a national war, a local issue for them, and see how it goes that way, which I think is a really fantastic basis. If you're going to start a company to do something, you have a real drive behind it, rather than just going, I think I can make some money out of this. It's part and parcel of both educating and exploring it. So the designers are all from Spain as well, I believe, and it's just this idea of a sort of a group of people getting together to try and promote their own little window into history, which I just really like.
Yep. I mean, it is a curious time period, because you would have had all the interwar like weapons and things that they could be laying their hands on that were essentially experimental at the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was exactly it.
You had the Germans shipping over Panzers.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
if we'll start with the vehicles then, since you asked me so nicely. So the Panzer
look at that.
Panzer 1 got its rollout. So these are 28 mil 3D printed. They don't sell the STLs or that sort of thing. I believe they're 3D printed. I haven't seen anything that says that they're recast into another material.
Right.
But you can see here the images. Unfortunately, they don't get impigulated. I have stolen some off their face page to show you some of the figures later on, though. But here you have the Panzer 1 with a couple of different turret options on it as well. So you can have those. And I mean, combined arms, the sort of the early prototype of Blitzkrieg. I'm not going to go too much into Blitzkrieg, but I know they did use the fighter lead up before, or the aerial lead up before the tanks and then infantry came in a very sort of piecemeal but sort of prototype stage, as if testing it out. I don't know if Germany sent advisors.
Pretty sure they did.
I know they definitely sent munitions and the like.
They probably weren't supposed to send staff, but they probably had staff right back.
I mean, you're handling the delivery here. Just give them word whenever you land as well. Because, I mean, otherwise, you've got some Spanish guy going, you have given me a tank. What do?
Well, there's no point in a war like that of just handing over the weapons and going, have fun, or use them to your ability. Like, you're seeing that recently as well with shipments of arms going east.
Yeah.
And, there is advisors. There's a lot of stuff happening in the background that you don't really hear about. So it's certainly, this is almost like the prototype to what happened in early World War II, as well as the tactics and how the technology was perceived it was going to evolve.
It's like this. Obviously, the Soviets were sending stuff out and about as well. And again, some nice little turret options. There's little commanders as well for the open turrets that are available on the vehicle page. So you can have your nationalists popping out the top of a hatch. There's also this, which is a really nice armored car.
I will say the prices are incredibly reasonable.
Oh yeah.
Not bad at all in any way, shape, or form. Now, when we get into some of the infantry, none of the infantry come with heads.
Okay.
There are multiple head packets with multiple different types of hat to define specific units within the conflict. So whenever you are buying them, you have to take into account that the bodies are all complete, but you will need to order the heads separately.
Yeah.
But again, the Bilbao armored car is really nice. And can be used for both factions.
It's interesting that it has what would be considered at the time a large cannon in the passenger seat.
I wonder what that is.
Don't know.
Looks like a blunderbuss, isn't it?
It has the flare end that you would see on sort of ACACs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
some kind of flak.
I'm assuming somebody is frantically typing as to exactly what that is into the comments.
Was it a particularly? I mean, obviously, no war is well balanced, but was it a well balanced fight between the different forces in?
No.
No/yes.
I'm expecting to hear the words ruffle stomped.
No, initially, because the nationalists attempted a coup, the coup failed, then they kicked off. So originally, the initial sort of breakdown was like 500,000 people on the Republican side and like less than 100,000 on the national side.
Wow. But
throughout the course of the war, that changed to almost equal, and then the nationalists went slightly ahead, and then they won. But the initial thing, I suppose the alternative is the people who are attempting the coup, some of the generals and the like, were obviously high-ranking military figures, so even though they had a smaller amount of people, there may have been better training there may have been better tactics and organization, and access to things like locations of ammunition and that sort of thing. So it may have swayed in the long run.
So it's an interesting one to follow in terms of gaming in that respect, because you've got the fluctuating numbers, but also the different types of scenarios that they'd find themselves in, the battles and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a rule set for it, do some asymmetric battles, so early war, mid war, late war, and rebalance what each person gets depending on what stage of the war you're at. Could be interesting.
I'm not sure how much it changed within it.
Right.
You'd have to do a fair bit of. John is off. John's looked up the gun.
That's a flamethrower.
That's wow. Okay. Cool.
That's how that magic happens.
That's one way to clear out a city street.
Funnily enough, tanks-encyclopedia.com has a very good article on this vehicle.
Who would have thought?
Trust John to be fit to do fast research. Who would have thought?
Nice. Right. So here we have the first, the national side. Now, some of these aren't filled yet, so you can see they have a space for Italians. There aren't any Italians in it. Like I say, brand spanking new indie as far as the things go. But you can see different styles of headwear, whether it's the sort of the soft tops, the turbans, the beret styles as well, or the peak cap. So you've got all of those. And some of them are definitely recognizable. I have no idea what that is, but that matador style hat, I think you still see as part of their Spanish.
Part of the police, isn't it?
Yeah.
The police or the National Guard or something.
Yeah, I've seen them out and about. We'll crack one of those open since we're here.
I do like that they've made it very clear as to which side of the conflict they're on before you even click through to it.
Yeah, I guess
coming to it. Yeah,
he's obviously trying to educate the locals, but at the same time, he's obviously trying to make it so that people like us can come along and go, okay, cool. Yeah. I now know what to get.
Yeah, we basically have an idiot's guide to the Spanish Civil War.
Like him checking papers.
No, he's reading an idiot's guide to the Spanish Civil War.
It's an idiot's guide to how to use a submachine gun, because that's clearly what it is, the manual for the gun he's holding.
Well, here's a question. So at this...
Why is this all in German?
Well, John, here's one for you. So in this period... Now, I don't know...
Ask me about this period.
Well, it's more about the weaponry of the pre-war. What sort of weapons would you look at? Because that guy's riding around with a lance.
Well, let's put it into perspective. The last cavalry charge was 1942.
Okay.
So, yes. This is the period where a few countries, particularly Russia and Germany and Britain, kind of knew what they were doing with armored vehicles, whereas everybody else either couldn't afford to build them or were buying them off those three other countries.
Or told Mr. Christie no.
It's the crossover of modernization for a lot of countries.
Yeah, the sort of the late 20s, early 30s was that period of there's new stuff coming online. Okay, how do we figure it out? Because what happens in most militaries is, well, particularly modern militaries, and the Americans are a good example for this. What comes first, doctrine or the equipment?
Yeah.
Today, it's doctrine drives equipment. Back in the day, it was, we've built this thing, but we've also built 10,000 of them, so you're going to have to figure out how to use it. It was one of those things, because America in the end of World War One, interwar period, was buying French stuff. They were using NOFTs and all that. They had them by the 100, and they were making up tactics based on that before they were starting to build their own and then figuring out what doctrine was. So Spanish Civil War is really, from a very surface level perception of it, like I always seen it as the these countries are feeding into this civil war to see what works.
Yes.
That's kind of what it felt like. It doesn't matter what the outcome of this civil war is, but we want to know what works.
Mm-hmm. It's field testing, extreme field testing of your equipment.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, recently we didn't know how good Javelin was.
Mm.
It's only in the last, year or so?
Coming up on 2, isn't it?
Day 400 and something.
Anywho.
The sculpting on these is phenomenal as well. I really like all the detail that's been worked into them. And I like that you've got so many, even with the sets of heads, you've not got sort of generic looking characters. You've got lots of them with different expressions and things like that. So if you are playing something a little bit more small scale, as I always tend to say, if you're playing small scale, you want to have individuals, don't you, really?
Yeah.
Kind of catered.
It is interesting that the baseline uniform for both sides would have been basically identical. And then it's the hats that tell you, is he friendly?
Well, easiest thing to see, I suppose.
You'll see later on with some of the Republican side where it's a bit more militia, and people in dungarees and just regular slacks and shirts and that sort of thing.
Here is rifle, bad people that way.
That type of thing. Yes, I want you to always translate that. I don't know why you keep asking me, but thank you.
Lots of really good poses as well.
Yeah. And it does exactly what it says in the tin. You don't have people firing, you've got them assaulting. I'm sure there was a film about the Spanish Civil War with, I want to say it was Cary Grant, but I can't honestly remember. I want to say it's called Wild Geese, but I know it's not Wild Geese because that's South Africa thing. But anyway, watching that film, that old American one, obviously it's slanted towards America, as these things are. It focuses on somebody's come in to fight in the international battalions, but there's an awful lot of warfare because Spain is very mountainous and rocky in places. There's an awful lot of, you're not worried about squad-based maneuvers on flat ground. There was an awful lot of sort of guerrilla tactics and engagements over very, very rocky ground. So having people sort of crawling and creeping and sneaking their way through that sort of landscape gives you a really interesting perspective. And like I say, the sculpting work in these are gorgeous.
Yeah. Although I would say for this idea, this concept, I'd say I can count off maybe 4 locations in the world where I would be really curious as to what happened. So number 1, obviously this Spanish Civil War. I'd love to know what was happening in China because I know there was war happening there as well. I have no idea what was happening in the Middle East. So like out and around Iraq, places like that. And then Brazil. Did Brazil get involved at all?
In the Spanish Civil War or general?
No, just in World War II.
What was Brazil doing at the time?
Yeah. There are big parts of the world where you never hear about it and you don't know what was going on there.
South America definitely got involved in bits and pieces.
South America was having its own Barney at the time, wasn't it?
Was it?
Probably.
I've never heard of it. Never heard about it.
Like these charging priest style.
I'm hearing Deus Vult in my soul.
Well, there's 3 of them, so it's enough for crusade.
They all look a little Che Guevara.
Yeah, just a touch. I see what you mean. This is some of your more partisan-looking people now.
Oh no, these are still.
Fair enough.
Uniform and putties.
Fair enough. Sorry.
That's.
God, the Shona.
That's a cool-looking gun.
Is it a Shona?
I'm pretty sure that's a Shona.
Yeah.
Is it now?
Shusha.
It was a piece of garbage.
Well, the magazine was a piece of garbage. The rest of the gun functioned as a gun, but the magazine's a piece of crap.
Well, trench warfare with an open-sided magazine with a leaf spring, was it, of some sort, like a zigzag one?
Magazines are leaf spring fed, anyways.
Yeah. So not the best plan. Thanks, France.
So anyway, leaving aside the nationalists, the Republican side, National Brigade, nothing in there. No Irish yet. Terrible. Don't think there's any of the commissars, but there's definitely stuff in Republican and
the regular militia
and the militia. So as you can see here, more the same sort of style of uniform, which is what happens during a civil war. This is interesting because it shows that there's a definite, I'm not going to say sculpting style, but it's almost like the dollies have been made as if they could be made multi-part.
Yeah.
Which means because they're 3D printed, when they're printing things out solid, that you've got them, you're good to go. These additional ones for the assault guard means you might be able to convert some other bits and pieces that you've got around. Depending on scaling, obviously.
The style of them is very reminiscent of like Wargames Atlantic's like style as well, which I think is quite nice.
I could see if this company did well, I could see Wargames Atlantic having a look in. Because I think this sort of thing would definitely be up their street.
Yeah, trying to fill the gaps in history. Kind of thing.
That would be a good partnership for them.
Yeah, well, especially they've done hard plastics with a few other companies as well. So maybe hard plastic Spanish Civil War wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility.
I like the heavy weapon crews.
Yeah, some nice support weapons, mortar. And
is this more of those I couldn't find a Hotchkiss in 28mm for ages and now they're all over the
everywhere,
place.
John. They are. I'm not saying that's how I found them, but it's like the world is taunting me now.
It's like we were saying on our way to Expo, our phones are listening to us, feeding it back to marketing companies. Maybe it filters down eventually.
God, I would hate listening to people like me and Jerry who's just like, God, I wish I had a Hotchkiss heavy machine gun.
God, everybody in the world seems to want a Hotchkiss. We should probably get on that immediately. So you can see the rest of the infantry are fairly standard. If I go to the militia, though, we can see some of the variations for the militiamen. So again, Hotchkiss, but this time, shirtless, just put the webbing over the top. Or just wearing regular clothing.
Carlos is in from the fields.
That type of thing. And I mean, for militia, it's great. But also, if you're doing interwar stuff and you're looking for just generic armed insurgents, so French partisans, Polish militia, whatever it happens to be, it's another good range.
Yeah.
So five current bodies and sort of there, and again, nice variety of sculpts.
I am wondering, are they single piece or is this something that you're going to be doing some building to?
Heads are separate, and then I think everything else is one part prints.
Although
cleaning up maybe, but other than that,
they must have particular models then for those arms.
For those arms, yeah. I mean, hopefully.
Maybe the arms are separate too.
Could be.
That's kind of what I'm wondering about. Because again, that increases your posability. But very nice.
It's an interesting little range and a fascinating period that we don't really sort of delve into a huge amount.
Yeah.
That and interwar both get overshadowed by what happened on either side. Well, I suppose this is interwar technically. So, but you know what I mean. So from the end of the First World War through to
World War II, the prequel,
the outbreak of hostilities in World War II, there's a lot of, and in many respects, a lot of national conflicts, a lot of civil wars, risings, coups, all sorts kicking off.
You had Russia implode.
Yeah, Russia imploded. Ireland kicked off. China had multiple sort of sort of warlord fighting and stuff. And
Japan and Russia had their thing.
Yeah, Russia saying,
I think that was probably like one of the few international wars during the
World War. Like I say, painting some up. So rather than just, it's always difficult with just renders, especially with a new company. So these aren't painted by Ebro.
By the team Ebro,
but these are somebody had been painted.
They look great.
It was like,
they look really good.
Separate heads on them, but
everything else looks to be one piece.
All the details coming out nicely as well.
A bit of shading.
I think those arms look separate.
Might be separate.
Maybe. Yeah. They've got. You can see a little bit of seaming around them.
Great.
It'll be interesting to actually get some and see.
That's a lovely painting style too.
They've done a really, really good job.
That's if I want to see it from the tabletop.
Yeah.
If I go to tabletop size, you're not seeing fine levels of, that's probably about 28 mil there. You're not on my monitor anyway. I don't care about you at home. For me, that looks 28 mil. But you can see there's good contrast on it. Without spending an age doing all sort of fine stuff. Anyway, back into that. Oosh.
Really awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Thought it'd be interesting to show off, like I say, incredibly new, just on the cusp. If you are ordering from them, the details of how to order, because they don't have like a digital shop, whatever you call those things, set up. So the details on how to order is on the website, but it's more or less get in contact with them, tell them what you want. They'll work out what it is and invoice you for it, and then they'll ship it, type of thing. So it's a little bit old school at the moment, but hopefully they'll develop more. I really want to see the international brigades.
Well, I mean, you're not cut down out of the back of a magazine.
Yeah, well, I don't mind that either. Yeah,
Jerry probably misses that.
Yeah, it was great. There was nothing wrong with it. Right, that's our Indie of the Week this week. We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be checking out some of the news we've missed while we were away.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, we are back with the news. We finally got a date for it, Ben.
We did.
It's all coming this way. John has already received a massive one. And
what you mean?
Everybody else can as well.
This is coming home with me tonight.
Yeah. So the Leviathan box set, the new box set for 10th edition Warhammer 40,000 goes up for pre-order tomorrow. This is the big new, I say starter set. It's not really a starter set. It's more like a box. For people to dive into Warhammer 40,000 as either the Space Marines or the Tyranids, with a whole host of new miniatures covering both of the different factions there. For those, well, we've had a look at this stuff before, but for those who don't know, the Space Marine side got a captain in Terminator armor at the front, alongside a librarian in Terminator armor as well. So that's the return of two sort of iconic HQ choices for the Space Marines. You've also got the Apothecary Biologist, who's down there in the bottom left, who is in Gravis armor, so keeping them a little bit safer as they go out to collect genetic material from the battlefield. And then you've also got,
brother.
You've also got the standard, well, as standard now, Primaris Lieutenant in Phobos armor. This one's a little bit of a tyrannic veteran, been running around the battlefields of Ogram, trying to stay alive against the Tyranid invasion as it stalks through the jungle. This set also comes with the updated Stern Guard. So you've got your 5 veterans of the chapter there, alongside some Terminators, rocking out with their new sculpts, looking very nice indeed. Big chunky boys. And then at the back, you've got the Infernus Marines. So that's your sort of Horus Heresy styled entire unit armed with one weapon.
Bernie boys.
Blame everything in your path. And then capping things off and saying goodbye to the old Box Dreadnought. By Box Dreadnought, we have the Ballistus Dreadnought stomping into battle with twin-linked weapons, missile pods, and everything else in between. So yeah, very nice stuff there for the Space Marines. I think a lot of people are quite enjoying the look of those. And what's important about them as well is that they're not ultramarine. You don't have to paint them blue. You can paint them whatever you want. And the set comes with a whole host of different transfers for doing different chapters. So you don't have to do the boys in blue. You can do Blood Angels or Dark Angels or whatever you feel
good chapter
is most appropriate.
A good chapter. Yeah.
Honestly, I am really looking forward to sinking my teeth into these and seeing how they're going to play on the tabletop now.
Should be very cool. We'll talk about playing a little bit later as well, because there's some stuff that's already been released. But as well as the Space Marines, we also have the Tyranid side of things. So this one comes with the winged Tyranid Prime that you see there on the bottom right. There's also a Neuro Tyrant that you see next to it as well. So a big psychic beastie with lots of synaptic potential. You then have Termagants, who've got an upgrade. So you've got your shooty alien boys to send into battle. No Scythe boys yet, but I'm sure they will be just around the corner. You've also then got Neurogaunts and Barb Gaunts as well. So your Neurogaunts are kind of like your chaff that gets sent to protect the Synapse creatures in battle. And then the Barb Gaunts are kind of like your longer ranged elements for your Tyranid army, firing, as you might have imagined, barbs at the enemy. There's also the Von Ryan's Leapers that you see there in the center. So they're your kind of analog for kind of like something between a Lictor and a regular Tyranid in many respects. And then towards the back as well, there's the Screamer Killer that you can see, which is insane, and a nice update on a classic miniature with arms that actually look like it could do something now. And there's also the Psychophage on the far left as well at the back. So you've got a whole host of little Gribblies, medium Gribblies, and big Gribblies for the Tyranid side of things in this box.
I will say, I think out of this box, the Tyranids are winning.
I think they look really cool.
For pure like new miniature goodness, I'd say Tyranid side has won on this one.
I also like the fact that you can just go in and pick up an army that is just about eating and killing things. There's no kind of weird stuff there in the lore about their, ethos or whatever. They just like eating things, which is always nice. And also they could be really fun to paint with contrasts. They will do a hell of a good job on all of that organic matter that you can see there. I've been thinking between Hive Fleet Behemoth and Hive Fleet Jormungandr. Who would have thought it?
See, I think if I was doing this, I would do my own Hive Fleet.
Oh, yes? What colours would you go for?
See, I'm thinking I'd like something with like a real punchy red with, I don't know, maybe the pale skin is quite good, but maybe something a little bit darker.
So Behemoth.
So Behemoth.
I don't know the swarms very well. But yeah, again, I think I would like to play about with some different contrasts to see just what I could come up with.
Yeah. It should be. I think things will come together very nicely for a lot of people painting up both armies for these. They are all push fit, it should be said. So you're not going to need any glue, but you probably will need some glue.
Just use glue anyway.
Yeah, just use glue. Otherwise, you'll get all the gaps and stuff in there, which you don't want. But alongside that, you've also got a whole bunch of additional components in the box set. So you get the Leviathan themed rulebook, which Justin was holding up just before, which is your fancy book containing all of the cool rules and more. So you've got your lore in there as well, which is nice. You've also got your set of mission cards. So these are what you use to generate the scenarios that you play at the tabletop, which is a nice way of doing things. You've got your transfer sheet, as you can see there. A lot of people... well, I say a lot of people. Chapter Master Valrak was very upset that the Imperial Fist symbol has been changed slightly. So all of his previous models no longer work. But there we go.
I'm quite surprised they haven't done any transfers for the NIDs, just like animal patterning, stripes or spots or something.
I think it would be far too hard to get them onto a model. I think
just on some of the chitinous plates, I think it'd look good.
Maybe.
I think clever use of washes and contrasts will do the same job for you.
Yeah, probably.
Fair.
But on top of that as well, there's also going to be a bunch of pre-order bonuses. So if you order from Games Workshop's web store, you get yourself the ability to pick up some. These are all while stocks last, by the way. This double-sided gaming board. If you order from an actual physical store, where you buy it from a store on the day of release, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow, you will get yourself the token set, as you can see there.
You may get yourself the token set.
You may get the token set.
You may.
Yeah, that's true.
GW are being very nebulous as to how many token sets stores are receiving. And it doesn't sound like it's going to be enough for the order.
Yeah. So equip your knuckles and stand at the front of the queue.
Yeah.
If you're ordering from your friendly local gaming store, a little bit like us, store.ontabletop.com, then you might be able to get your hands on some deployment marker sets. Although we also are going to be...
Who knows?
While stocks last.
Yeah.
That's also maybe one.
I will say Tom is currently furiously working on getting as many copies in as he can for everybody.
But another one for local gaming stores is that you'll be able to get your hands on potentially the dice trays as well, which I think are very nice. So if you're looking for some dice trays, you've got that option as well, which is good.
I like that.
That's a different style of dice tray than the other one I've seen.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like the all rolled up one in many regards.
Yeah, I seen another one with the Terminator in it that had like it was the firm sided one that folded up. Oh, I'm so confused now. Which one is it?
Maybe the other.
Shapes. Who knows? As well as the announcement of the new Leviathan set, there's also been the news that we're going to be able to dive into a big global campaign that's going to happen over a couple of weeks after the release of the box set. So this is going to be the battle for Ogrim. And Ogrim just seems like such a dumb name for a planet, but there we go.
Maybe the Ogres come from there.
Maybe. But this is where you'll be able to fight with both the Space Marines and Tyranids and probably some other forces as well, I would guess, and see who comes out on top and decides the fate of this world. Will it actually have any say in the wider lore? Who knows?
Will they ignore it like the last time?
Yeah, will they ignore it? Yeah.
No, you played it, but you played it wrong. So we're doing it our way.
So that's going to be kicking off, as you can see, on the Monday after the release, which is kind of awesome. If you want to dive into that and play around with your new miniatures, and if you want to get your head around the rules before the release of that, Games Workshop have already been releasing their new rules for 10th edition. So the core rules are no longer available in. I've photographed it in my car, sat in the.
I was kind of thinking that, why would they do this? Because somebody did it badly.
Yeah, so you're able to get your hands on the PDF of all the core rules, which is 60 pages. Not too hard to go through. If you've played Warhammer 40,000 before, a lot of the same elements are built in there. Although Jerry has a bugbear with the page numbers thing. So.
That's my favorite bit. The rule explaining how you read page numbers.
But you got all the
pages. Jesus, it's not that hard.
That should be the way it goes.
You don't need to add additional page numbers to your page numbers. Exhibit.
Yes. Very true.
Anyway.
But a lot of the core concepts stay the same from Warhammer 40,000. We're not going to see any kind of alternative activation here. But you can go online and watch 100 demo games that have already been played using the core rules, and it's fairly easy to dive in and give it a go. Alongside that, they've also released the data sheets for both the Space Marines and the Tyranids that come in the box set. For the love of God, I don't know why they didn't put physical versions in the Leviathan set.
That's true.
Keeps the production cost down, and it means that if they have to do a day one errata, they're good.
But they threw in, shed loads of plastic. Why can't they put in some?
Because once it's in print, they have to stand by it. This way, if they need to update it, like they've done in the past.
But there's the full rule book is in there.
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to errata that on day one because it's.
They might have to anyway.
How big is it? You've got it sitting there. So if they can put that in the box, then they can put in 2 A4 sheets with what you need for what you're playing.
But there we go.
I think someone's trying to be clever. And hang on, sure. Remember what happened to Leagues of Votan?
Well, that's true. But the data sheets are available as PDF. You can go get them over on the Warhammer community website. In addition to that, they have also, at the time of recording, put out the full Tyranid data sheets in PDF form. So if you want to go and get all of the data sheets for every single unit in the Tyranid army that you can use in 10th edition, you can do that. They have also said they're going to be releasing the rest of those over the course of the next couple of weeks as we go through the pre-order period and go up to release. So watch out for those released online. They did also say that, and this actually speaks to what you were saying there, Justin, that they're going to be updating all of the indexes that you can pick up until you get a codex, if you know what I mean. So because we're only getting the Space Marines and the Tyranids soon-ish when it comes to codexes, everyone else will get their errata through the updated index cards that will come out, and then eventually when a codex comes out later down the line, that will be the way to get your full rules. So
okay, it sounds as if they're never physically going to produce your index cards. It's always going to be digital.
You say that. They are also going to be doing the index cards physically.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then there's why they're not in the box, Jerry. They want you to buy another product.
Probably. Yeah, so you're going to be able to pick
but you're already paying 150 quid for a starter set.
Yeah, but they want more money. They want more money.
Put the cards in there.
They want more money.
It doesn't require massive thought on anyone's behalf.
Also, if you're interested in breakdowns of all those cards, the YouTuber Bricky has been keeping up with all the previews and releases and stuff, and he does a fantastic breakdown of all the data sheets as they come out as well. So check
Definitely worth looking at.
I want to call him out because he's an absolute G. So
there you go.
Are you friends with
my beloved?
Oh, the man crush.
So Leviathan up for pre-order tomorrow. You can try and get your copy from us at store.ontabletop.com. Hopefully there won't be people falling to the whims of the scalpers, but we shall see. The proof will be in the pudding, the big tyranny gribbly pudding.
This is the thing. Any scalper that comes through our online digital doors, we tell them, no, go away.
There we go. So
You get one.
You get one.
They have said, GW have said that it's limited to 2 per customer.
Yes.
So
On their web store, yeah. So
who knows? Maybe that will reduce things somewhat. Maybe some people will be able to get a copy of the box.
The other
This isn't limited edition, is it?
No, well, yes, it is.
It is. It's while stocks last.
It's while stocks last. They did say they might go do a made to order, but remember, Curse City, it was like, a year before they went back and did the made to order stuff afterwards. So.
I just remember the last starter set where it was like limited edition and the scalpers had a field day.
The main thing is that it doesn't matter if Workshop do a 2 per customer thing, because the scalpers are running bots that are running multiple email addresses.
Fair.
I will also say though, that all these miniatures are going to be coming out in the future anyway. So if you don't want to, if you can't get your hands on them right now, then you've got the ability to download the free PDFs, the free core rules, and play with the miniatures that you already do have in your collection, and just see whether or not the game's for you as well. And watch out for those start sets and more down the line if you want. So,
I do feel bad for anyone that hates Space Marines and Tyranid, because if they want the new rulebook, the physical copy, because they're like Jerry, they're old, they like an actual book, they have to buy this.
I don't want the actual book.
No, but in general, if it's a rule set you like, you want the actual book. Imagine having a company that releases it and you can only get it with 2 armies that you dislike.
I imagine it'll come out
eventually.
Whenever
come out eventually.
Yeah, whenever they do the full release.
Yeah.
If you want to paint your stuff with bubbly things on it, like you were talking about sticking animal patterny transfers, there's a YouTube channel you should check out, Cat Gut Painting. If people are unaware of it, he painted a whole Tyranid army like coconut crabs.
Oh, wow.
And it looks fantastic. So
I think that sounds amazing.
That
sounds amazing. I'm going to have to check that out.
Nice.
Thank you, Jerry.
No decals required either.
So there you go. Games Workshop stuff.
I'm painting my crabs for Kings of War for my Trident rounds. Crabs. And I thought that's a great way of doing it.
Crab people.
So moving on from something that Jerry despises to something that Jerry loves.
Yay! Happy Jerry is a good Jerry.
Speaking of Kings of War, the Northern Alliance are getting some additional unitary for Kings of War. So these went up for pre-order with a July 10th release. So just in time for the 12th weekend. So that's always good. So interesting. Wasn't expecting it. Well, I was expecting one of it. In fact, I'll skip on to the one I was expecting. I was expecting these. So currently, if you're running Northern Alliance and you want to do Icekin Hunters or Berserkers, you are pretty much left with a single pose PVC plastic model, because it came via the medium of Vanguard originally. So they've made a dual kit, multi-part hard plastic that will allow you to make either or / both of these crazy racist elves in the north, because all elves are racists. Anyway, so if you want to be creeping through the snow and shooting up dwarves, or if you want to be running through the snow screaming and stabbing up dwarves, you can do both of those things with the Icekin there, which is an interesting little plastic kit. And again, nice to see an expansion of the hard plastics for Kings of War, because it just makes life much easier for people collecting big armies. But these ones, when I was told at the expo by Martin ahead of time that they had ravens coming, I've gone, do you? Okay, fair enough. New unit, great. Was not expecting these to be hard plastic as well.
So cool.
I am totally fine with this.
I wonder why you like them, Ben.
Yeah, maybe my memory's going, but I thought Ben would like this. Anyway, so a pair of dwarf riding ravens coming down off the mountains from the Halpi region. I have also been told that the 2 rock style flight stands, they are separate. So if you don't want all of your pigeons to be mounted on rocks, then you can remove that and put them on something else. I quite like it. I really like I like the fact that they're stabbery, some sort of flying cav / monster. And here's where things get a bit wacky, a bit woo. They're geezers. That's a hard plastic kit as well, which means they want multiple of those in the army. So they mustn't be monsters, because you're capped on how many monsters you can sort of field. So is it some sort of new big unit, like an irregular unit that you're going to have multiples of?
Is it perhaps Monstrous Cavalry?
There's Monstrous Cavalry in-game already, but not in this format, not on a sort of Titan-sized base, which I think they come on, the 75 mils. So we don't have the new rules for these. These, like the Night Stalkers new stuff, will get their rules after release onto the app, so people can see that. They're also tweaking some of the other existing unit entries in there. So Northern Alliance getting a bit of a refresh as well, which is handy because, I have that army. This, if you are after them, by the way, this is by far and away the best way to get it, the ambush set, because we don't normally talk price, but I will for this. A regiment is £25 generally. The giant pigeons there are £20 for a pair. That box is £35 together, so you're getting the pigeons for a tenner, along with the bases and cards and stuff in a mini rulebook. If you're getting them through a second party retailer, you'll find that there's going to be like a 10, 15, maybe even 20% discount on that. That is ridiculously cheap. Yeah. Especially if you can field multiple of those pigeons. Giant evil war pigeons of doom.
War pigeons of doom.
Apart from that is what they are, chap. There's also a couple of army sets coming. So we've got one here. This is the standard army set. So 20 Huskarls, 20 Clansmen. I think the Huskarls have been removed. Anyway, 20 Clansmen that you can build as Javelineer, Spear / hand weapon. Your new Icekin, which can either be done as Berserkers or Hunters. The War Pigeons O'Doom, and then one of the hero characters. That resin model is gorgeous. Ice Blade. I have her somewhere, and I can't remember where I put her. And
she's really cool.
Wow. There's also a Mega Army, which is the sort of the big £110 sort of thing, where you've got pretty much the guts of a 1,500 point army coming, and there's a new 2-player starter set coming called Ice and Shadows, I want to say, which is the new Night Stalkers against the new Northern Alliance. So with the full rulebook in there as well. So they're all up for pre-order if you fancy your fantasy. Nice. It's good. I'm very glad that I didn't assemble any of my Northern Alliance either. The fact I've held stuff for many years means whenever I finally get around to assembling them,
prepped and ready.
I don't have to worry about anything's changing stuff.
Yeah, didn't Lloyd pick up a Kings of War army while we were at Expo?
Yeah, he picked up goblins.
Yeah, so you have a reason to do it now and a chance to kick Lloyd's toys in again.
I always have a reason to do it because I can always play Paul.
Yeah, but it's fun kicking Lloyd's toys in.
He's a Kings of War fan as well. It's always good, and I'm sure whenever I come ruffle stomping across the tabletop at him, he'll really appreciate the fact that he doesn't really know what's going on, and will want to play it more often.
Lloyd walks out. I hate goblins.
Just picks up the army. Toys. Well, I mean.
He just goes back to researching the color of dirt.
Well, that's true. Don't worry. I have said he can borrow some of my goblin mincers.
Oh, there you go.
So, there you go. They're always good whenever your opponents come towards you just to drive things into people's faces. But yeah.
Solid tactics.
Not the only information from Mantic as well. They also teased that they've got the license to do Worms as a board game.
They're doing the Worms board game.
I am mildly confused. How do you convert Worms into a board game?
Oh, no,
I think it'll be fun.
Well, I'm dying to find out.
Yeah. So am I.
Because the board games Hellboy and Walking Dead and things, Dreadball. They're all very different but very good fun.
There is an interview with Ronnie over on our live channel where we talk about Worms. And in typical Ronnie fashion, he talked more about the campaign than he was meant to. So if you want to find out a lot more about it, you can go and do that.
That is so unlike him.
See, this is the curse of working events. You have time to work the event. You don't have time to see what other people are doing at the event.
There's never enough time for Ronnie.
No,
oh, man. I miss Ronnie.
There are some cool card games coming down the pipeline as well. Well, card and dice games coming down the pipeline from Mantic, so watch out for them as well. With some very awesome properties that people will like. So.
Fancy. Right. Speaking of awesome properties, here's a famous name, Ben, taking a step into a wider world.
Yeah, so the folks at Critical Role, who are known for doing their D&D actual play, set in the world of Exandria, are sort of dipping their toe into another role-playing universe. So they and Darrington Press, which is their publishing company, have come up with a very awesome role-playing game called Candela Obscura. So say you like the sort of trappings of Cthulhu, a little bit of steampunk, and also Vaesen and stuff like that. This game is very much in that wheelhouse. It's set in a turn-of-the-century Victorian-esque city called New Fair, where you play as part of an organization called Candela Obscura that has been set up to head out into the city and beyond in order to deal with the strange eldritch and magical occurrences that are happening to the folks that live there. You'll be sort of wandering around the city streets full of cobbles and fog, as is typical with these kind of things, trying to counter the bleed that is coming through from different gaps in reality. And for example, in the adventure that was set up as one of the part of their Let's Play that they did, they were having to deal with a spirit that had inhabited a sort of foundry somewhere and was sort of going around killing the workers and that kind of thing. So it was really awesome to see how they dealt with that. It's got a lot of those kind of investigative Cthulhu-y sort of Arkham-esque vibes going on with it, but is run through their new system, which is called the Illuminated World system, which is D6 based, pool based, and is focused very much on the narrative, and that something that I think more than anything Tales from the Loop sort of popularized, which is the fail forward mechanic. So things happen, so what you wanted to achieve happens, but X happens to you, kind of thing. So you might have broken through the door, but maybe the door shattered into your face and you've cut your hand or something like that. And there's some really interesting ways that they've played around with the dice pool system in this, where you can kind of wager that you'll win a task by sort of putting your all into it in order to get back some of your resources and things. And there's some very interesting ways that they've played around with sort of damage, both mentally and physically in the game as well, which will be really fun to dive into and have a look at. There's also a really nice thing they've done where you don't choose your gear before you go into an encounter. So you go into an encounter and you just sort of carry on through it. And then if gear comes up, if something comes up where you want to use a piece of gear, like a detector or something like that, you say, I pull out my detector that I packed before the mission, kind of thing. And it's kind of like you can tick 3 of them off each time. So it's kind of in the moment, sort of flashing back Ocean's 11 style to when you prepared for the moment, kind of thing. And then you dive in and have fun with it, which I think is really nice and keeps things moving and means that you're not going into a situation and being like, oh, well, I didn't bring all the things to deal with ghosts because I'm now fighting a vampire or something like that. So I think that's really cool.
That's handy, because the amount of times I've played RPG where you sit there and you go, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take, and you could have a list as long as your arm, and then the thing you need you haven't brought.
Exactly.
And all you're doing is lumbering around with it, and you're desperately trying to. It's like Boondock Saints. You're desperately trying to find out why you've brought 40 foot of rope with you, and you're going to try and use it no matter what, even though nothing makes sense.
Well, hang on. Do you remember, not this year, but the one before, we actually did a video with John, one of the Vikings, and he was actually showing off what it would be like for an actual person to carry half of the weapons that you would in a video game. And it was just this poor son that just couldn't move, couldn't walk.
Yeah. So it counteracts that, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
There's an entire quick start for you to go and dive into, which covers all of the basic rules. It gives you a primer on the city of New Fair and the peoples and the lore and everything that you'll be diving into, as well as some sample adventure stuff as well for you to have a go at. What's quite nice as well is that it's a little bit like Vaesen. You obviously have your characters, and the characters will develop, but also the circle that you're in and the kind of lodge that you fight alongside when you're going out to deal with all these Gribblies kind of upgrades and changes as you go as well, which I think is a really nice way of doing it. There's a very kind of like Giles from Buffy vibe going on, where you've got someone who kind of like looks after you and keeps you safe and things like that, which I think is really nice. So they definitely used a lot of sort of key draws from different role-playing games and tied it into something new. But it's just good to see them stepping away from just doing Dungeons and Dragons, which is always good. So yeah,
I also like the fact that the major issue I have with the Year Zero engine, the dice pool engine, is you need 6s.
Yeah,
I never get them. I like that they've gone 4s and 5s
and 6s. Yeah,
are not full success. They're a bit of a success, but they're not full. So you're much more likely to succeed in what you're doing. You may just have to deal with consequences a bit more often.
Yeah, there's a nice little bit of kind of mitigation of bad luck as well, because you can spend sort of certain elements of resources from your characters in order to re-roll things and stuff like that. So it's a really interesting game, and it's well worth having a look at. What I might do is I might try and put the Well, I will. I will put the actual play in the comments down below as well, so you can check that out at the same time as reading through the quick start rules. Giving it
I do like the idea that there can be consequences to your success. So yes, you've picked the lock of the door, but as you open it, oops, there's a guard behind it.
Yeah. Or a bucket of water falls on your head.
Then why did I pick the lock? It would be open already.
Not necessarily.
It
was a double bluff.
Not with their clever traps.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how they keep you.
Definitely go and check out Candela Obscura. It's a fun new role-playing game, and I'm sure it's going to be coming out in glorious, full physical awesomeness in the future. There are also some very nice dice that they do. So yeah, who doesn't need more dice? So there we go.
Probably not me, but
well, yeah. Moving from sort of pulpy stuff to a bit of the historical. We've got a couple of additional news stories here. So the first one of these comes from Brigade Games, which we've looked at in the past. I think we were looking at some of their stuff that was, or at least on the site, we were looking at some of their stuff that was all sort of like horror-based for Napoleonics, which was quite nice for the Silver Bayonet. But Paul Hicks has been at it again. He's a beaver. Just work it away.
Terrible man with all of his talent.
Yeah, so he has been designing a couple of new miniatures for Brigade Games to use during the sort of 1812 period. So if you wanted to kind of take your Napoleonic, but sort of shift it dramatically to the other side of the world, then you can do that. So we've got a couple of notable characters for you to pick up for the British to be playing alongside. So you've got Lieutenant General Sir George Prevost. Looks very nice indeed. And I think that's how he talks, probably.
I would imagine so, yes.
Yeah. He was one of the military strategists of the time. Another one of the character models that they've done is one... Oh, I've lost it. There we go. Major General Sir Isaac Brock, who was a renowned Canadian militiaman. There we go. And an administrator for Upper Canada as well. You don't want to be the administrator for Lower Canada. Nobody likes Lower Canada. That would be the worst. There we go.
See, this kind of feels like Jerry directing us sometimes. You go there, you will not die. Well, he knows you will die, and he wants you to die.
Yeah. There's also a core of new. There's also a core of new troops for you to be playing around with as well. So they've done the Colonial Marines, and they've done them in a range of different poses, as is their want, for you to create some really nice and dynamic regiments on the tabletop, or just skirmishing warbands if you prefer. So you've got the core of Colonial Marines with the command element. They've also done them marching and firing as well. And I really like the way that they pose the firing ones, because it's the actual process of firing the rifle. So it's loading. There we go. Go. Fired. Now I'm dead.
Really like this.
On the floor at the end.
Several years ago, Warren, for some unknown reason, was really looking for the Colonial Marine, the British Marine top hat. I don't know why, but he was crying out for a range of miniatures that had that.
Didn't he want to play this period? Didn't he want to do, what was the show with Jason Momoa in it? Where it was up north.
Oh, Frontier?
Like Frontier. He wanted to do like Frontier or something, didn't he? Or something like that. But
sure. All I remember is he wanted Colonial Marines. And now they exist.
Now they exist. And they're done by Paul Hicks, so they're amazing. So
yes, they are.
Finishing these off, the characters, you got some stuff for the US side as well. So if you want to play as some notable characters on the tabletop.
Old Hickory.
Yeah. Major General Andrew Jackson with his mutton chops at the ready there. Looking very lovely indeed.
Please stop fighting Jules, President Jackson, please.
And then you've also got Brigadier General Jacob Brown as well. So you've got a couple of notable characters there from that 1812 period, as I was saying, if you wanted to slot them into your games. It's well worth going and have a look at the rest of their collection, because they have oodles and oodles and oodles of Napoleonics for you to get stuck into, and everything that crosses all the different battlefields of Europe and America at the same time.
And TV series.
Yes, they do.
You can get the full range of Sharp and his chosen men, and some other like Hogan and Munro, the exploring officer, and there's little gems in there.
Hogan, not of the Hulk variety.
Not of the Hulk, no. No, of the Brian Cox variety.
Yeah.
better all-round Hogan. And then the range is great.
Last but not least, we're going to be looking at some stuff from MicroArt Studios. So they previously have been doing some previews, which we did a story on, of their new pre-painted, but I like to call it pre-colored
Pre-colored,
essentially terrain for use in World War II war games on the tabletop, specifically for the likes of bolt action and things, because they've made them very skirmishy, which is always good to see. And they did all these previews, which you can see here, which were kind of like a neat little tease of what was coming. And look, they're also award-winning. Who would have thought it?
Dun, dun, dun.
So their terrain is essentially it's all pre-colored and ready to go. You just pop it out of the sprues of the frames, essentially, stick it all together, and Bob's your uncle, fine as your aunt, you're away and ready to go. And then new stuff is themed much more towards the rural than it is the urban. Their initial sets were done to kind of represent kind of like, you know, your towns and villages,
Quarantine, I'm
cities.
guessing.
Yeah, that kind of thing in sort of deep France, as it were, and Normandy as well. So you've got your shops and your hotels and your pubs and your churches and everything else in between. But then with the new stuff, they kind of stepped away from the urban towards the rural, and they've done a nice little farmstead with houses and barns, chicken coop, which is always nice to see as well. A really nice little collection of stuff there for you to pick up.
Fancy.
However,
what?
If these are not your cup of tea, I am hearing rumblings that Battlefield in a Box is going to be getting a refresher for your bolt action goodness.
Oh,
so something to keep an eye out for.
Bolt action. That's interesting, because up until now they've only done 15 mil. Really?
Oh, sorry. Nope. Wrong company.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, well, in that case, if these aren't what you fancy, then don't wait for the 15 mil.
My apologies.
Too small.
I'm sorry. I'm still recovering.
You could put them on a hill and pretend they're far away, though. What will be interesting, because obviously when we looked at the Normandy range or the urban range
stuff,
they were destructible. You had inner layers and you could lift them off and you know that sort of thing. Presumably they're going to do the same again.
I would assume that's the case with these. I hadn't really seen anything that showcased that yet, but it's
to be fair, it's mostly just line drawings at the moment because they are terrible.
Well, they do have some stuff. If you look at the top of the web store page, there was a few.
Was there some on the web store page? I will.
So you're hoping they've done. Oops, there was a bomb.
Yeah, but I really like the fact that they've done the kind of urban and then the rural stuff. So if you are building a bigger table, you could have the kind of end of your village or your town and then the roads that lead out of that towards the farmland. And suddenly you've got loads of packed urban environments with all the walls and the broken down ruins and things, and then have things go out towards farmland and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, as you can see there, they've done the nice little farmsteads and stuff that you can build up. So if you wanted to build a larger complex, you could, or you could dive in a little bit deeper and do something a little bit smaller if you wanted as well, which is always nice. But yeah, I think they look really good. And even though they're pre-colored, I think that they've done a really nice job of doing both the interiors and the exteriors. They've also put there you go. Boom. They've done the little ruins in the inside, which is nice to see.
I love the way they do these just for the sheer modularity of them.
Yeah. They're great for kind of skirmish level gaming, which is obviously essentially what bolt action is played at, really, with those your groups of troops running between buildings and getting shot by tanks, probably.
Yeah, but it means you never have to do like a single layout for your table anymore, which is something I used to really, really dislike.
Yeah. Just come with cows.
Cows.
It better say cows are included or cows not included. Cows sold separately.
Cows all riot.
Attention, no cow business
here. It should also be noted that all the terrain comes because one of the things with these is that if you've got these without kind of a protective cover on them, there's the potential of them getting scratched in transit. They come with like a protective layer over the top of the coloured area of the piece.
So they've got like a matte varnish on them?
No,
well, it's kind of like
paper,
like a film. So you peel that off, and then you've got the lovely stuff underneath. So it's only on you if you ruin the terrain.
They will be receiving matte varnish if we get them.
Yeah, but yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned that because I remember another company. I think it might have been Antonosity's Workshop years ago did painted stuff, and they also came with a cover on it. And the amount of people I've seen complaining that they didn't look anything like they did in the photographs, and then they had to go, no, you take and when you take it off, the colours underneath.
Why is everything I own brown?
But there you go.
Yeah.
Right. Lovely. I think that's us caught up with all the news. That was a lot of news.
It was a lot.
Let's take a little break. John, you must away. We have a Charlie to bring in.
My beloved.
That's why you need to be kept away from him.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
And we've been joined by Charlie. Hello.
What? Huh.
Yeah, I kind of had to tackle John so he didn't take the seat. Charlie, I'm sorry, you're not getting him yet. You're going to have to come over, buddy.
That's fine. I'll survive. I'll cry my tears after we've finished.
That's good. So you're with us this week then to take us through GameFound. And have a look at The Damned and how people go about setting it up.
Yes, indeed. Do you want to dive straight into it?
We can drive that way or dive that way. It's entirely up to you.
Cool. I don't know. I think diving sounds a bit more exciting.
It's a little bit more wee.
It's certainly good for Ben.
Right, here we go. Screen share. Cool. So head over to the GameFound website. You can type in The Damned at the top here. But at the moment, we're in the top 3 most funded campaigns on GameFound.
Very awesome.
14 days left to go. So hopefully we'll stay up there. These guys are obviously a bit closer to their end goal. Obviously, this one's nearly finished. 1 day left. No idea what it is. Age of Steam. Looks nice.
Oh, good God. Thank God Lloyd's not here.
Hex and trains.
He likes trains.
And hexes.
There you go. Perfect for Ben and Lloyd's terrible love child.
Oh, dear. So you're going to want to click on The Damned. It'll take you straight over there. So we do that. It'll take you over. Lots of lovely pictures. If you haven't seen it already, please head over and have a little look. You kind of scroll through the page. So we've got a little bit of a...
Did I see someone on a sheep?
Yeah, there's a hound leaping a sheep. So the wonderful guys that were sculpting the hounds, when the hounds got unlocked, got a little bit excited, and they've also been working on farm animals, as you can see.
Yes.
So yeah, why not?
They already had.
My brain just had to process.
Yeah, we've just actually run a poll. In fact, I might be able to take you over there. So we had to update. This is already on a tangent. To see if anybody wants a free STL of that. So any backers, and at present it's 73% say yes. There's no reason you would say no, unless you don't have a 3D printer, which is those 53 people there, I'm guessing.
I mean, more stuff is better than less stuff. Yeah, let's go.
That's exactly. So yeah, we'll probably be giving that STL away to all backers. So that's the hounds, and so that'll kind of lead us in nicely to where we're going to go next with back in the project. So for those that haven't seen it, please take a look. I'll do a quick whistle stop tour. So we go into a little bit just blurb of what is The Damned. It's all going to be in hard plastic multi-part kits. There's a beautiful painted photo by the guys at Cult of Paint have done for us there. And then you go into your rewards. So you've got your rewards here. We've got the 10-box reward as the featured, because that's the one with the greatest saving against pounds. And it's not actually the greatest. There's a bigger one than that. But this is the sensible greatest saving.
Who wants to be sensible?
And you've got 15 free sprues available at the moment, with more to come. And then you've got your 3-box, your 5-box, and then your big boy 15-box reward, where you get a whopping $174 saving against the RRP. And I think it's up to 54 free sprues, depending on how far the campaign goes.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So we'll come back to this, because this is kind of where you would build your pledge. We've then got retailer pledges for stores. So any stores that want to get involved nice and early, they can do that. Really pleased with this graphic. Damned deliveries around the back. So had lots of fun doing that one. Then you've got your add-ons. So we've got like the most recently unlocked products at the top. So you've got your hounds, your outriders, your damned infantry, brutes, weapons teams, command, and 25mm textured bases. Again, you can add these to your pledge here. But then the rewards and spoils, this is the fun bit. So this just kind of talks you through what the various rewards are and the spoils that you get from those rewards. So we start out with a 3-box reward where you're getting a $20+ saving and up to 14 sprues. So that number there is if we get to the 300,000 mark. And then we're listing out the boxes that you can choose from. So all of these rewards are pick and mix. So it's a 3-box reward, and you can choose any 3 of the list there, which is your infantry, brutes, weapons teams, command, outriders, and hounds, and very, very soon to be female infantry. We did a little promotion of shares and retweets, and we're rocketing up on those numbers. And I believe the boss is going to pull a fast one on me and probably release them early. So by the time people are watching this, there's a good chance that the female infantry will have been unlocked.
Have we seen any of the female infantry yet?
Oh, yes.
Have you teased them? Okay, sorry, I haven't seen them, and I am curious.
Yes, no, we have indeed. I'll jump on to. In fact, we can do it really quickly. Head over to the updates.
Sorry, I am Mr. Tangent.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It was one of the real early updates, like as we were waiting to go live. I believe we've got some females in the hounds and handlers, so there'll be some female bodies and arms and heads in the hounds box. And I believe it was like right as we were kind of getting ready to go live. Either that or they've just been shipped.
I think they were on Facebook, but
Facebook. You're right, it was indeed on Facebook. We'll have to.
That's fine.
You guys can do through the wizardry of editing.
Yeah. It's all right. I Charlie, just send it to me. I'll bring it up.
Thanks. So then we've got the 5-box, which is pretty much the same as the 3-box. The concepts there: choose any 5 of those boxes and up to 20 free sprues. And then we've got like a list of where you're getting those kind of free sprues from. So 5 for being a 5-box reward, +1 for following the campaign, +1 for reaching 666 backers, which we've done, +1 more if you're backed within the first 24 hours. So that one won't appear within the rewards. We have to add the early bird reward in the pledge manager. So
right.
You won't see that on the rewards, but it will get added in when we get through to pledge manager status. Same again for $10, but now we've got $100 saving, and then the $15. So yeah, the concept kind of just rolls on from one to the next. And then below that is all your stretch goals. In fact, there you go. There's some female infantry.
Yeah.
I've gone a little bit further down the page with the found it. And
they look fabulous.
Come Friday, we should have parts and stuff to show everybody, because the sculptor is working on them now. Good old Rob, bless him. We've worked him to the bone, and he's working on parts and stuff for the female infantry at the moment. And then we've got your chance to put your head on the sprue, more free sprues, the artillery. This is all probably going to drop by 10k, because we're going to unlock the female infantry through that sort of share and retweet.
Through the social goals, yeah.
We'll just like pull everything forward by 10k, which means the next big one, which, well, we're going to run a poll for stuff in here. In fact, you can hear it first on the Weekender. Some of the things that you'll be able to choose from will be gene modified infantry, which is essentially beastmen. Heavy infantry, which is just damned infantry, but with more armor, bigger guns, heavier gear. The mutation sprue will go into this, and potentially a couple more. So that's at the 260k. Another free sprue at 270, and then whatever the runner-up is from that poll will get added into 280. And then we've got the vehicle at 300. But bear in mind, this is probably all going to end up being 10k earlier. So this will probably be like the 290 mark once those female infantry get unlocked.
Nice.
Bonus. I do like the idea of doing polls to actually see what folks are after.
Yeah.
It's something Wargames Atlantic do really, really well, is they're always looking for, what do the community want? What do they want to see us create? And I really, really respect that.
Thank you. Well, it's funny. One of the things that we've realized as we got into the campaign, we've tried to be very reactive, very responsive to what people have had to say, and they're taking their comments on board. And a lot of it was, we need to stop treating this separately to how we would normally do business. So when we were thinking about, well, what are we going to do about shipping? How do we get shipping right? So, well, why would it be any different to how we do shipping on our own website. So basically every pledge over $50 gets free shipping worldwide, because that's what we do on the website, and we're using the same warehouses that we use for standard shipping for GameFound. In fact, what we're doing is we're actually adding in a fourth warehouse in Europe, so that we can avoid the guys having to pay import duties on top of their duties.
Oh, nice.
So should be no hidden surprises on fulfillment for any EU backers. We've also agreed, because the GameFound platform kind of insists on charging VAT on top of the pledge to anybody in the EU, we're going to give all those EU backers a couple of free boxes during the Pledge Manager to compensate for the additional, VAT they've paid on top. So basically, the EU guys are just getting more stuff for their money, which is good. So exciting stuff, right? So pledging. There's loads of places you can do it. You've seen as I've scrolled down, when you get to the rewards, you can hit add this to my pledge. But you can also do it from the top end here. So hit yourself a follow, because that's going to keep you in touch with what's going on with the campaign. Absolutely no reason you wouldn't do that. Also gives you an extra free sprue, so go ahead and do it. And then hit back this project, and it takes you right down to the rewards. So I'm going to be ambitious and assume everybody wants a nice big 10-box deal, because getting up to 27 free sprues, which is tons of free product. Like I say, if you work on the basis that a box is maximum going to be 4 sprues, some boxes will be 3, like the Brutes and the Outriders. You're getting, 5, 6, 7 free boxes plus an extra sprue on top. If you took all infantry, if you took Brutes and stuff, it's even more.
I'm seeing one thing I like before we move on.
Yeah.
See that stretch pay?
Yes.
Splitting up your costs. I haven't seen that before. So if you want to go big, you don't have to dump it in one shot.
Indeed. So we've partnered with GameFound. This is a little thing that they allow creators to do. It's a choice. You don't have to do it. You can do it. And then you get to kind of play around with it a little bit. So basically, any pledge that's over $200 will get access to stretch pay. It allows you to split your payments over 3 months. Hence the reason it's showing there at $99.67 per month.
That's cool.
And there's no additional interest on that. It's just a flat rate, 0%. Split your payment out over 3 months.
Very cool.
And obviously, like I say, you can see it on the $99 one. And then if you go to your $15 one, it's $141 over 3 months. So obviously, everybody's got a flexible hobby budget. This is just kind of making it easier for you to get more stuff and split it out over 3 months.
Yeah.
Does what it says on the tin. So we hit add to pledge, and it brings up this lovely little window. Now, if you want to, you can just hit confirm. And I've got to stress this to all backers. You do not need to lock in the boxes that you want now. You'll be able to do that when it gets to the Pledge Manager. You'll be able to mess around with it to your heart's content, because when it gets to the Pledge Manager, the rewards will be what they are. Throughout the campaign, as we're unlocking more products and unlocking more freebies, these contents here are going to change. So at the moment, the 10-box deal has 16 free sprues available to it. But as we unlock the female infantry, that'll go up to 17 free sprues, and so on and so forth. And it will keep going up as more things get unlocked. Unfortunately, the GameFound campaign doesn't update your pledge once you've kind of hit confirm. So you have to go back in and just remove the 10-box reward and add the 10-box reward back in. Don't worry about it. You don't need to do that. You can do that when it gets to the pledge manager status of the campaign, and you'll be able to, play around with it. And even once you've hit confirm here and you've committed, let's say if I hit confirm now, it basically say I'm getting 10 boxes of infantry. That's fine, because when it gets to pledge manager, I'll be able to change it up. But if you want to have a play around, you hit this little split item thing here, and then it starts to split it out. So you've got 9 boxes. So let's say I want 4 boxes of infantry. So I'll just split it out until it gets to 4, and I've selected damned infantry. And then I'm going to add in a brutes. I'm going to add in a weapons team. I'm going to add in command and outriders and a box of hounds. And then for free sprues, well, you've got a huge list because not only have we added in the stuff that gets unlocked throughout the campaign, we've also added in all of the existing Death Fields sprues. Right. Mm-hmm. So you might choose to split this out 16 times and choose a different frame.
Sample everything.
All the way through, exactly, and so on and so forth. But the point of kind of adding this in was so that people could see the flexibility in it. Like I say, you don't need to worry about, committing to anything straight away. You can just go ahead, hit confirm, and submit your pledge. So you get to submit pledge. It asks for the country that you're in. So if you can stick in a search, United Kingdom, and I can't remember which way around it is, but weirdly, if you click United Kingdom by itself, it randomly adds tax, or it was. I think they might have fixed that. We did ask the Game Fan guys to go in and
we're special.
So that
well, hang on. We're Schrodinger's European.
Yeah, let's one other day we could discuss that. You're like it's the back door to Europe, isn't it? Yep. So you do this, and then you basically go right. You choose your payment option. I did mine on my phone, so you can do Apple Pay on your phone and just make it super easy. Nice. Fills out all your details for you. You've obviously got Google Pay and a credit card. You click I agree to the terms, and then you click pledge. But if you wanted to, you can go away from this screen. In fact, what might be easier, if I stop this screen share and open up my existing pledge on GameFound. Right, here we go. So because I've been constantly messing around, it's been like I went in and pledged, I think I was back at 77, which was really annoying because I was at I think we were in Legoland at the time with the kids, and I was on my phone like trying to pledge like straight away. I was like, I will be back at number 1. It was my responsibility to be back at number 1. First. And it was just like no. Legoland Wi-Fi does not have capacity for you to mess around on Game Pass. I ended up going in, and by the time I got it to work, about 15 later, it's like, oh, you're back at number 77.
So hang on, you were buying toys, but looking at the more expensive toys.
More expensive toys. Now, which one was the more expensive toys, though? Bear in mind, I was in the Lego shop.
Lego clearly.
Yeah. Stood in front of the Millennium Falcon and thinking, how do I get Jennifer to let me spend £700? Needless to say, I came away with just one of those little dioramas for 60 quid or something. So because I've been messing around with it, it's got my kind of pledges like open at the moment. So you'll kind of see this area here where I can kind of cancel my 15-box deal, but I can also hit manage pledge. And it's weirdly, but on your phone, when you hit manage pledge, you can add in new products. There we go. So we cancelled that off. And normally it would allow you to kind of add in additional products. Weirdly, on your mobile, it's slightly different. So you hit select reward, confirm, continue browsing, and then you can go ahead and go, right, I want to add a 3-box deal. I don't want to go 15 boxes, but I want to do, 13. So
I see. Right.
And then you can click continue browsing. You can see up there, it's got 10 box and 3 box.
And it separates them out then. That's cool.
It does, yeah. On the mobile, when you do it on a mobile, it's all in one screen. So as you delete product, it says add product. And then you just kind of have a little drop down of like 3 box, 5 box, 10 box, 15 box. And then obviously the retailer pledge. And on the mobile, you can kind of just, pick and choose like that.
Right. Possibly a silly question, Charlie. So you see the way you've got your $10 deal and you've added your $3 deal.
Yeah.
By adding the $3 deal, do you get the free sprues for that deal on top?
You do indeed, yes.
Okay.
Because the free sprues are built into those deals. So again, you might not want, 13. You could go, right, I want a $3 and a $5. You just hit add to pledge, continue browsing, and it does there. And then you might think, you know what, I want another couple of products. So I click add on, and then I go, right, I'm just going to add the hounds.
Yeah.
Or, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these 25 mil bases.
Yeah.
And you just can keep kind of adding, continue browsing.
Yeah.
And then when you go,
that's cool.
You can either submit the pledge from there, or you could go manage pledge, and then you can see everything on the screen. So you might go, actually, you know what? I don't need the $3. I just need this $5 deal plus these extra bits. And I drop the hounds, but I'm going to increase my textured bases up to $3. And then you go ahead and click checkout. So there's a difference between your pledge and the rewards, which is really the message that I wanted to get across, was you build your pledge by adding rewards and add-ons to your cart, which is essentially your pledge, and then you hit submit. But even once you've submitted that pledge and you've gone through the checkout process, has it saved my details? No, it hasn't. So you go through the checkout process, you can then go back and manipulate that pledge anytime you like.
Very cool.
Even once you've hit checkout.
Nice.
So you'll always be able to manipulate it up and down during the campaign. Once it gets to the pledge manager, the campaign's ended. You can't reduce your pledge down. You can only increase the size of your pledge. It's a game found thing. I think we have got like a 2-week kind of cancel period. So like if the campaign ends and for whatever reason your circumstances have changed, you'll get a chance to cancel your pledge down.
Very cool.
And that is hopefully cleared things up and not made it more complicated.
Honestly, it's one of the most flexible campaigns I've ever seen for what you want to grab. So if you're grabbing that $10 and you go, well, I've got sort of an army in mind, but I need a few more sprues, a few more boxes, I'll just pick either the units I want, or maybe I go for the deal and get some extra free stuff.
That's it, exactly. Yeah. And every time you add a new reward in, you're adding more free stuff to your pledge. And every time we unlock new stuff, those rewards, the value of those rewards gets bigger and bigger. And, you could, your hobby budget might be like limited. You go in for a $3, and then during the pledge manager, you might choose to add another $3 to it. And you double your freebies by adding that extra $3 reward in. So, yeah, there's loads of ways of doing it. The $15 deal is insane value. I think it's currently sitting at 32 free sprues and $170 saving against the RRP. So, yeah, hopefully what we've got to by listening to the community, reacting, not being stubborn because we're not. Is it prideful? We're not proud people. We want to give the community what they want. I've got to a point where I'm really, really, really proud of where the campaign's at. I can't think of any way we could now improve it without creating additional risk. I mean, the only thing I would add is Jerry as a chaos sorcerer. Maybe a bearded. We do need to go on the command frame, perhaps.
I'm already in the Dark Age Irish Brood, doesn't matter.
There is a sorcerer body now. In fact, if it's in that folder I've shared with you guys, go and check it out. Maybe you can bring it up.
Jerry, I'm sorry.
Don't be. I exist everywhere across many Dark Age frames.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we could probably, if you wanted to make loads of Jerrys, just grab our Dark Age Irish sprue. Yeah. And although it's not in the campaign, the plan is to probably let people choose any frame that Wargames Atlantic has produced during the Pledge Manager as your freebies. We just didn't want to make this list like.
So what? Like, every freebie is just a Dark Age Irish just for the head.
Just, it's definitely you'll definitely have to pick out all the OnTableTop fans from the backers of all the guys that have added at least one Dark Age Irish frame to their pledge. So yeah, no, fingers crossed. It's now just down to the community. Go and have fun, have at it. We've got another. I think it's. After the female infantry, another 4 products to unlock. So it's the artillery, 2 secret ones, which will be chosen by the community, and then the vehicle. And they're well within reach. We're talking probably just over 100K, which is less than kind of double where we are right now. So it's definitely doable. We've got another 2 weeks. 2 weeks today to run, 2 weeks Thursday. So it'll be 13 days.
13 days left.
Come this going live.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to show us how the pick and mix selection works on GameFound, Charlie.
Absolute pleasure.
We are going to shuffle you off and return us to John, and we should be right back in just 2 seconds.
So yeah, that was a chat with Charlie, talking about The Damned on GameFound, which is pretty awesome. I think they're going to be doing like 8 kits. It could be up to like 12, which is kind of awesome for a company to be doing through like a crowdfunding campaign. Normally you see people doing like 3 or 4. So yeah, hopefully when all those land, it'll be very awesome to see. So,
last word on it, do want.
There we go. Moving on from the GameFound, we're going to be moving on to Kickstarter. We have a couple of awesome ones to dive into. One of these, the first one is from Alessio Cavatore and also Jack Caesar. A lot of people know this.
Hey.
Yeah, so this one is from Draco Studios as well, and this is Dragonbond Battles of Valerna. So this is a big new war game that Alessio Cavatore and Jack Caesar have been working on. Where they have taken their world of Dragonbond, which we've talked about before in both board game form, but also graphic novels, comics, and everything else in between, even role-playing games as well.
Yeah.
And they're bringing it to the tabletop as a skirmish/mass battle game as well at the same time, which is really awesome. So the rules are going to be entirely flexible, so you could play with a handful of models or a huge armful of them if you preferred. And they're going to have all of the awesome STL files that you'll have seen in previous iterations of the game, be they board games or whatever. So you're going to have lots of dragons, dinosaurs, mighty heroes, wizards, and a whole host of different characters that cross over 5 different factions for their incredibly deep world. With Alessio behind the mechanics, there was obviously going to be some funky stuff in the mix there as well. So there's a few little interesting things. So you've got sort of proprietary dice and stuff that you'll be using for your games and stuff. So they've allowed them to play around with the mechanics a little bit more. But there's also a couple of additional things. So there's what's called the fatigue mechanic. So in the game, you can kind of push your units through both activations and reactions. And you can sort of make sure that like even the smallest of warriors could do something epic as they fight through towards inevitable victory or defeat. But as you go through, you'll accrue these fatigue counters, and this will mean that your unit will go from being fresh through to being exhausted essentially. So when they have on their attacks and defenses are all going to be downgraded. They're still going to be able to fight. They're not going to just be stuck out there in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do, but they will sort of be at the mercy of the enemy, which I think is kind of cool. So you can kind of, if there's like one particular objective that you really need to cap at the end of the game or something, then you might want to push your units to their absolute limit in order to do that. And I think it's a really nice way of doing things, so you don't just get to do one thing with a unit on the tabletop, which is very cool. So especially when you've got dragons flying around anyway. So,
the interesting thing is that this is fully print and play.
Yes. So
there is no plan to make a physical one though down the line, but this particular campaign is just print and play.
Yeah. So this is all print and play, as Jerry was saying. All of the rules, all of the components and everything like that, you'll be able to print out. All of the miniatures will obviously then be available as STL files, so you'll be able to pick those up and download them and get them printed off. These folks have been working on STL files for a good long time anyway at this point, so they have definitely sort of got their elbow in when it comes to designing miniatures that will print out well on the tabletop. Another sort of important element of this game as well is that it's tied to that key name of the world and everything around it, which is Dragonbond. So this is going to have big ass dragons in the game, and just like in the board game which came out, you'll actually be able to bond with your dragons. So it'll give both of you like an up to your abilities and your skills and everything. But if one of you dies, both of you are removed from the game. So it's got kind of that dragon heart thing going on. Oh, what a lovely movie that one.
Never form life links with any creature.
Every time I hear you say Dragonbond, my mind just goes straight to Rick and Morty. I am sorry.
I've seen that episode. Yeah, it's very Leshen-like. Yeah. So as well as the actual rules, which are free to download at the moment, you can go and get your hands on those and have a read through them. There are sort of 30 odd pages of rules for you to dive through, including a sample scenario for you to play out as well at the end, which is kind of cool. And it'll walk you through all of the basics of how to play. It seems like it's fairly easy. I think a lot of the kind of nuances are going to come in the units that you bring to the tabletop and sort of how they all interact with each other. As you're seeing here, as Jerry's showing off, there are also a lot of miniatures to get your hands on. 250 plus miniatures across 5 different factions. So you've got Alaria, Nahuak, the Scourge of the Triumvirate, which is one of the new factions that have been added to the game, Tyveria and Yishval as well. So it's kind of going down the Nordic route, which is very nice. And that's not even mentioning the mercenaries that you can throw into the game as well, alongside wandering monsters and everything else in between.
Go up. Please go up. Were those Centaur Minotaur?
Yeah, they're Bull Centaur Minotaur type things.
Yeah. Okay, weirdness. Sorry, just caught my eye.
Centaurs, apparently. There you go. So there is a whole host of different miniatures for you to pick up, and because of the 5 different factions, and then the monsters, and then the mercenaries, there are. If there's an aesthetic that you like, these folks have probably been able to bring it to the tabletop in some fashion or another, which is really nice to see.
Some of the interesting things about it are things like the dice mechanics now, because it's print and play. One of the reasons they've gone for the bespoke dice, because then you print those out. You don't require to have them at home, but it also means they can play around with the mechanics themselves. So dice can be upgraded and downgraded, essentially white, grey, black are the 3 levels. I can't remember which one is lowest. So they are the 3 levels. And so rather than just going, you've got -1 to hit, you may end up with a dice that has fewer successes on it or a higher ability to crit, things like that. So when you use things like that, like bespoke dice, sometimes they get very samey. Things like X-Wing, you've only really got one type of dice that you're chucking around the place for attack and one for your defense. So that it may as well have just used a standard D8, but leaning into the fact that you can have different variations and iterations of dice means that you can do things mechanically without having to constantly rely on people doing a lot of bookkeeping or maths to go, right, well, you're doing this and then that's going to be an additional -1 and then -2 because I'm behind a hedge and so on and so forth, blah blah blah, bingo bongo. I've come up with I need a 7 or more twice on 3Ds.
Well,
you just go, I'm going to roll all blacks now. Oh, there's 3 successes, easy.
Right. Just a question. So the bespoke dice for that, they're a 3D printable component, yeah?
Yes.
That solves a problem that I have had with many, many games that have bespoke dice. And that's coming up short on dice.
That you get 3 in the set and you really need 12. So go out and buy 2 more dice packs. I call that the FFG maneuver.
Yeah, but it's such a pet peeve that you're rolling and then you're having to re-roll and remember what you had rolled instead of just rolling at once and being done. I like that they're doing this.
I like how they've also included little bits of terrain for each of the factions as well.
Yeah, it really flavors them.
If you want to make a particularly themed battlefield, as you say, for you to play your games on, then you've got that opportunity.
We're not even halfway through here. I may have to speed this up because there are other things later on. Things like the Wandering Monsters are interesting as well because there's a couple of different flavors. You can kind of bind or bend some of the things to your will, and then they may break off later on and kick off if whoever's been subduing them gets dealt with or leaves the table. And then there are other ones that are just a constant harassment to both sides where you're having to deal with all and sundry around them.
See, again, I like the idea that, it's not just force versus force. You've got like living, moving terrain like what we did see with Mantic's The Walking Dead, because the zombies in that were more an annoyance than an absolute you are going to die, and you could use it to your advantage if you were clever.
Yeah. So it's an interesting concept that they've gone with it. Alessio was saying it scales particularly well.
Mhm.
So it'll be fascinating to see how that works, because sometimes if you play bigger games with more stuff on the table, all you're doing is adding time to the gameplay.
Bogging down.
So we'll wait and see how that sort of stacks
how that
up.
plays out in reality.
Because I did get a chance to sit down and chat with him about it, which will be going out next week, I imagine.
Yeah. So there's an interview with him that we did, talking a little bit more in depth about the campaign in general. And then there's also, we had a chat with Alessio over the weekend at UKGE as well. Yeah. So if you want to check that out, you'll be able to do that too, which is quite nice.
I'm halfway. I'm going to skip on and find. There we go.
It should also be noted that if you just want the dragons, there is a pledge specifically to get dragons. So
I like that you got your generic terrain in there as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of it all being like heavily themed.
Mm-hmm.
The one that really jumped out to me was the Ysval. Again, I love my Nordic stuff, so big surprise, folks.
Yeah, that was really awesome. And because it's all digital, the delivery of this is pretty darn quick. I mean, it's July.
Yeah.
They've done all the work previous to this. The rules exist. You know, all the miniatures exist from their previous work as well.
So long as their server doesn't die, they're fine.
Well, yeah. Let's pray that doesn't happen, yeah.
I think they probably run through somebody like My Mini Factory or whatever to
do the fulfillment to that, I'd imagine.
Do the fulfillment. But yeah, there's some weird stuff there. And the world has been growing now for 2-3 years.
Oh Lord, yes.
Since they started doing it. Some of the miniatures you may, if you do 3D printing, you may recognize some of them because they've been available previously. They've been retooled and their bases have been changed up. So some of the files have been slightly tweaked for the war game, which means you may see ones that you already own. You may not. You may see a frog in armor. Who knows?
I really want to see like an exploded diagram of some of these more big, chunky ones, because I'm really curious to see how they broke them down to make them fit on like smaller bed 3D printers.
Look at that element. I have seen some of the plastic stuff that these folks have done as some of their previous releases, and they are packaged very nicely, and the dragons look very good. So I would hope, fingers crossed, later on down the line, if this raises enough money and enough interest, I would love to dive in and get a hold of these miniatures for a little bit of a game physically on the tabletop, rather than printing my way through it.
They've done some gorgeous work on them.
Yeah, they really have.
No doubt about it.
It's
happy he is.
It's fantastic. And even if you don't use them for the war game, you could use them for the role-playing game, or you could use them in other games as well if you wanted to. But yeah.
And again, because they're STLs, you can have as many of them as you want within the game's limits.
You could print all the dragons.
All of the dragons, all of the time. I mean, why not? But yeah, fascinating stuff. Great to see the guys at Draco Studio as well continue to iterate and expand.
Yes.
Rather than just resting on their laurels, because they could. I mean, there's so many people out there doing 3D prints successfully. You could just go, well, we have an idea for this world, but we just make the miniatures. But they've doubled down and went, well, you can do whatever you want within this space, whether it's sort of a strategic board game, a full-on board game, or the RPG side of things, or even just sit back and read a comic. Comics are great.
While your models are printing, read the graphic novel.
Read the graphic novel. So, already funded, and there are 13 days left on it.
Yes.
So if you're interested in checking out the Battles of Valerna from Draco Studios, then definitely want to have a look at and go and download the rules, give it a flick through, see what you think.
And also Lords of Valar, which is their board game.
The board game
potentially should be coming out to more folks after it's been delivered up via Kickstarter and stuff very soon. So watch out for that. It's a very cool game.
I will say your jump off point in this for one army at $25, bargain.
Mm-hmm. Super cool.
Sounds like a thing that people would like. Right. Leaving the world of Valara behind. And entering the world of Westfalia. Boris is back.
He is.
Yay.
Going from the very cutting edge of digital blah, blah, blahs to I make stuff out of green stuff and beast putty, and then that guy casts it in resin. Hooray!
Gary style.
Dark Tides, as we discover from the deep, in-depth conversation and pitch meeting that went back and forth between Cave and Boris. Hey, B, imagine a Hero Quest game with only Chaos Warriors. Boris imagines. From that, we have these bizarre Chaos Warriors from the Dark Tides. So it's a set of 7, you wanted to say without counting? I believe 7. Ne'er-do-wells, very bizarre, as is Boris's wont. Strange sculpts of unusual body proportions and shapes. Heavily armored Chaos Knights. There are, as you can see, a little, I would almost say a Muckborg sort of flavor to them, with the weirdness going on, especially Crank Height there with his massive hammerhead. Each one is absolutely stuffed to the brim with hatfuls of Guatemalan and sandy peppers. They are just insane.
They really are.
They're also really big, much more so than I thought whenever I backed it. The figures themselves are behemoths, so kind of think ogre-sized wouldn't be too far away. They're substantially bigger than your standard 28 mil.
Yeah, because they've been designed as boss characters, haven't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
I mean, it says Chaos Warrior, and you think, well, bigger than human in full armor, but these things are massive. Obviously funded, and since they've been funded, they've been unlocking little stretch goals of little tiny minions. As you can see there, we have a bunch of them already that sort of kind of mimic the Chaos Warrior that they serve as a squire come getter and outer of their armor. I particularly like tiny little Houston, little tiny hook, little tiny hammerhead.
I'm a Birmingham screwdriver.
I wonder if everything looks like a nail to him.
Yeah,
I imagine so. But it's just
so cool.
A gorgeous addition of really unique perspective of fantasy figures that Boris has. I think it's fair to say that there's nobody else out there even, I wouldn't say coming close to him, but even coming close to attempting to copy his style. Boris's style of sketch and sculpt is, you can spot it a mile off.
It's wild how close his final miniatures are to the initial art and concept design.
There's so cool. There's a nice size there. So there's regular. That's from the Heroes.
Sort of 28-32 mil kind of thing.
He sculpted that for the Heroes Kickstarter.
I mean, the only way I can describe his style is just delightfully demented.
I did ask him recently if we ever get a book of his sketches, and he says he's kind of working on it, maybe.
Awesome.
Because I mean, as far as art books go, these are just great, and you can see there just how close from his mad smattering of sketches that the actual green stuff work comes out.
I think our buddy Dave Taylor needs to get onto this, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at some of the stuff here, and I was like, how would you use that in something in like your games or something like that? Obviously, it's just nice to have them and paint them, which is the way most people use it. But I love the idea of using them almost in kind of like a Dark Soulsy way or like an Elden Ring way, where there's all of these different bosses that you need to defeat. Each of them has their own kind of style of attack pattern and things like that. And if you were playing a game like Forbidden Psalms, which is the miniature version of Mörkburg, you could drop those in, and your gang of fighters have to somehow defeat each of these as they go along. But I also really like the idea of getting each of the minions and having them as this kind of incessant little like tick-based thing that follows you around all the time and just annoys the heck out of you as you're doing things. And you like kick them over the side of a cliff, and then suddenly they come back later, and you're like, oh, God damn it.
Can't get rid of them till you've dealt with the boss.
Exactly. Yeah.
Minions just keep coming back over and over again.
Or they start following you after each session, giving you bonuses, but being really annoying.
That would, something like that, yeah.
You have knocked me from my armor. I am now your slave.
But yeah, amazing miniatures that I think would work really nicely with basically all the stuff that Boris has done previous to this, and might even be a fun entry point for somebody who wants to have a fun painting project, I think. So,
well, that's the thing. I mean, even if you can't find a game for them, and believe me, I will. They just make really nice painting projects.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there's some Grimdark painters out there on YouTube. I would love to see them work on some of these.
Definitely.
Like full hard light shading, monochromatic goodness.
Love to see Ankle Heraldez have a go.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that would be
yes.
cool.
All of my yes.
He's generally a very clean kind of painter.
Yeah.
And I have seen him starting to do a little bit of chaotic stuff recently. And I'm
What
like,
would he do if you went
You want to get him down in the pits, down and dirty?
I'd love to see him actually do, like, just copy that super Blanche kind of style artist work with the likes of actually taking images from Elden Ring and basically color coding an Elden Ring boss to something like that, because it's so desaturated and so sepia. I would just love to see a real pro have a go at it, you know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I won't.
I mean, honestly, you know who I'd love to see take a swing at this one? Tommy Soul. I think he could do a really nice job on this.
Yep.
Very nice.
A whole barrage of painting goodness there.
Yes.
People can scuttle off now and have a look at. There are only 4 days left. So if you are planning on picking those up in the Kickstarter, then get on there quickly.
Hurry, run.
My Mork Borg Kickstarter arrived from them this week.
Nice.
And is due to go onto the retail store if people missed it. I shouldn't tap this. But it is due to go on the, it is going to go in the retail store in the next couple of weeks. So if you missed the previous one and you like the look of Boris's stuff, neatly throw on the floor, then keep an eye out for that as well.
Does Zealot still sell his HeroQuest stuff, by the way? Or has that gone? Oh, did they do? Awesome. Brilliant.
I've got all that, so I don't need to go back anytime soon.
You can go and get some. You can go and get some small Chaos Warriors to go alongside the big ones.
That's true. You can get the small Chaos Warriors, or check out his liches that he did for Nightmare in Spain. Espanol.
There's a reason he's the Grandmaster.
There is, yeah. I don't stock him these days. He's just settled down at Westfalia, so it's easier. I don't have to proud the internet seeing who he's working for anymore.
All right, sorry. I thought you said stalking as in you were stalking his miniatures, but no, you're stalking him. Got it.
No, stalking as in creepy.
Yeah. No, I get it. We all get it. We all get it.
Right. If you don't want to see my creepy face at your window at night, then you should come over on Sunday morning and join us at the XLBS. Otherwise, I'll visit each and every house until I find you all. If you aren't already a member, you can join the Cult of Games for a 30-day free trial on tabletop.com. We'll be having a chat with the Brothers Johnston about who knows what. Time will tell. Well, it doesn't matter what we put in the running order. We'll be run over.
They go. It's random.
And then Lloyd will open his holiday snaps, and who knows where we'll go from there.
Yeah. But, hey, John, have fun with that edit.
Yep. We will be back next Friday for more of the same. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.